Commander Ryan Carter stood at the window of Earth's orbital defense station, his eyes fixed on the massive alien ships that hung like dark clouds against the stars. The date was July 15, 2157, and humanity was about to face its greatest challenge yet. "They're requesting another meeting, sir," said Lieutenant Kate Morrison, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. She handed him a tablet showing the latest message from the Galactic Space Authority. Carter rubbed his tired eyes. For the past 3 weeks, these aliens had been trying to force Earth to stop all military research. They thought humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable to have advanced weapons. "Tell them we'll meet in 1 hour," he said, "and get Dr. Nelson up here. We need her insight on their technology." The meeting room on the station was designed to impress, with Earth visible through the large window behind the human delegation. But the aliens didn't seem impressed. The Zixnarian diplomat, a tall being with silvery skin and 4 arms, looked down at the humans with what seemed like pity. "Your species develops weapons too quickly," the alien said, its translator making the words sound flat and emotionless. "In just 200 years, you went from simple gunpowder to nuclear weapons. The GSA cannot allow such rapid military advancement." Carter leaned forward in his chair. "With all respect, Ambassador, Earth has a right to defend itself. We've seen the records you shared. There are dangerous species out there." Dr. Amanda Nelson, sitting to Carter's left, spoke up. "Our development speed comes from necessity. Humans are naturally creative problem solvers. We had to survive on our planet." The Zixnarian made a gesture that their cultural experts said showed dismissal. "Your creativity is precisely what concerns us. Your species takes simple tools and turns them into weapons. You think in ways that disturb our predictive models." At that moment, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Lieutenant Morrison burst into the room, her face pale. "Sir, we're detecting multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. They're GSA military vessels." The Zixnarian diplomat stood up, all 4 hands clasped in what seemed like satisfaction. "The GSA Council has made its decision. Earth will be contained until your species learns to advance at an acceptable pace." Carter's face hardened as he watched more alien ships appear on the station's screens. They were massive, easily dwarfing Earth's largest vessels. But he noticed something interesting. They were all the same design, all following the same pattern. The aliens thought in straight lines, in predictable ways. "This is your final warning," the diplomat said. "Cease all military research and development. Remove your orbital defense platforms. Accept GSA's supervision of your technology." Dr. Nelson caught Carter's eye and smiled slightly. She had noticed it too. The alien ships were advanced, yes, but they lacked variety. They showed no signs of adaptation or creative thinking. "Ambassador," Carter said calmly, "I think you're making a serious mistake. Humans don't respond well to threats." The next few hours were a blur of activity. While the GSA ships took up positions around Earth, Carter and his team were busy. Dr. Nelson's research team had already been studying the aliens' technology from their diplomatic vessels. They found something fascinating. All their advanced systems followed the same basic principles. "They're like a computer that can only run one type of program," Dr. Nelson explained to the Emergency Council. "Advanced, yes, but inflexible. They've never needed to think differently because their technology has always worked." Earth's response came 3 days later. When the GSA ships sent their first warning shots to demonstrate their power, they found their energy weapons dissolving harmlessly against Earth's atmosphere. Dr. Nelson's team had discovered that simple changes to Earth's existing satellite network could disrupt their targeting systems. "Impossible," the Zixnarian diplomat declared when Carter showed them the defense. "Your technology is too primitive to counter our weapons." Carter smiled. "That's where you're wrong. We didn't counter your weapons with better technology. We found a simple solution you never considered. That's what humans do. We adapt, we improvise, we overcome. The GSA ships tried different attacks, but each time they found their advanced technology failing against surprisingly simple defenses. Earth's military bases used old-fashioned radio waves to scramble their quantum communications. Their energy shields couldn't stop physical projectiles that Earth's railguns fired in unpredictable patterns. Even their advanced sensors were fooled by clouds of simple metal chaff, scattered in ways their computers couldn't predict. By the end of the week, the GSA fleet remained in orbit, but they had failed to force Earth's surrender. Their perfect formations and advanced technology meant nothing against human creativity and adaptability. In the final meeting with the Xixnarian diplomat, Carter laid out humanity's position. "We don't want war," he said, "but if you force us to fight, we will. And we will keep finding new ways to fight until we win. That's what humans do." The diplomat's silvery skin seemed to pale. "Your species, you took our most advanced weapons and defeated them with simple tools and creative thinking. The Council must reconsider its approach." As the diplomat left to consult with the GSA Council, Carter stood with Dr. Nelson and Lieutenant Morrison, watching Earth rotate slowly below them. The GSA ships still hung in orbit, but they seemed less threatening now. "They thought advanced technology meant they couldn't lose," Morrison said, shaking her head. Dr. Nelson smiled. "They forgot that technology is just a tool. It's how you use it that matters." Carter nodded, watching a new day dawn over Earth. The real challenge was just beginning. The GSA had underestimated humanity once. They wouldn't make that mistake again. But now they knew something important. Humans didn't need the most advanced technology to win. They just needed to think differently. "Send a message to all Earth defense stations," Carter said. "Tell them to keep working on those unconventional solutions. Something tells me we're going to need a lot more human creativity before this is over." The sun rose over Earth, its light reflecting off the GSA ships. They still looked impressive and powerful, but now everyone knew the truth. All that advanced technology couldn't match the power of human innovation. The first battle was over, but the real war was just beginning, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy just how creative they could be. Dr. Amanda Nelson's underground laboratory buzzed with activity. 2 weeks had passed since the GSA's failed attempt to force Earth's surrender, and she knew they wouldn't stay quiet for long. The lab, hidden beneath the Rocky Mountains, was Earth's best chance at survival. "Show me what you found," she said to her team, gathered around a large table covered with seemingly ordinary objects. Old radios, microwave parts, and even children's toys. Jack Harrison, her best engineer, held up what looked like a modified kitchen microwave. "You won't believe this," he said, grinning. "Remember how their shields work on complex energy patterns? Well, it turns out they can't handle something as simple as this." He turned on the device. On a nearby screen, they watched as a test shield, copied from GSA technology, flickered and failed. The solution was so simple, it was almost funny. The irregular patterns of microwave energy confused the alien shield's perfect mathematical calculations. Lieutenant Kate Morrison walked into the lab, carrying new data from their alien observers. "The GSA ships are still up there," she reported, "but they're acting strange. Their patterns are different." Dr. Nelson nodded. "They're learning. But so are we." She turned to her team. "Show me what else we got." One scientist held up an old video game controller. "We reprogrammed these to send confusing signals to their targeting computers. They're so advanced, they can't process the simple, random button presses that any human child could make." Another researcher demonstrated how they turned old TV antennas into devices that could detect DGSA stealth ships. Their cloaking technology never had to hide from such basic detection methods, she explained. They over-engineered the solution. But their biggest breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Morrison had been studying how the GSA's computers predicted enemy actions. She discovered something fascinating. "Their whole system is based on logic and patterns," Morrison explained, pointing to her computer screen. "But human brains don't work that way. We make intuitive leaps. We have gut feelings. Their computers can't predict what they don't understand. Dr. Nelson saw the potential immediately. So we don't need better technology to beat them. We just need to be more human. The team worked day and night, creating what they called primitive innovations. They turned old cell phones into communication devices that the GSA couldn't track. They modified car engines to power shield-piercing weapons. Everything they built was simple, cheap, and impossible for the aliens to predict. Commander Ryan Carter visited the lab regularly, bringing news from the diplomatic front. During one visit, he watched as the team tested their latest invention, a defense system made from modified weather radar. The GSA Council is confused, Carter told Dr. Nelson as they watched the test. Their military leaders can't understand how we're doing this. They keep expecting us to use advanced technology. That's their weakness, Dr. Nelson replied. They think progress only moves in one direction, toward more complex solutions. They've forgotten how to think simply. The breakthrough that changed everything came a month into their work. Jack Harrison was playing with his daughter's kaleidoscope during a break when he had an idea. He rushed back to his workstation, excited. Their ships use quantum positioning to stay in perfect formation, he explained to Dr. Nelson. But what if we show them multiple false positions? Like a kaleidoscope shows multiple reflections. They tested the idea using modified mirrors and simple light arrays. The GSA ship's computers couldn't handle the conflicting information. Their perfect formations fell apart when they couldn't determine their true positions relative to each other. Lieutenant Morrison took this idea further. She created a training program that taught Earth's pilots to fly in patterns that looked random to GSA computers, but made perfect sense to human intuition. The aliens couldn't predict what they couldn't understand. It's beautiful, Dr. Nelson said, watching Earth's pilots practice their seemingly chaotic maneuvers. We're not just defending ourselves anymore. We're showing them a whole new way of thinking. The GSA noticed these changes. Their observers sent concerned reports back to their council. How could a species with such primitive technology create such effective defenses? Why couldn't their advanced systems cope with these simple solutions? One afternoon, as Dr. Nelson reviewed their progress, an alert came through. The GSA ships were moving, forming new patterns around Earth. They were preparing for something big. They're trying to adapt, Lieutenant Morrison said, studying the data. But look, they're still thinking in straight lines, still following their old patterns. They can't help themselves. Dr. Nelson gathered her team. Then we'll show them something completely new. Something so simple it'll seem like magic to them. She pointed to their collection of ordinary objects, each one modified to do extraordinary things. This is humanity's real strength. We don't need fancy technology. We just need to think differently. Commander Carter called later that day. Whatever you're working on down there, work faster, he said. Our observers report the GSA is bringing in their heavy fleet. They're determined to prove their technology is superior. Dr. Nelson looked at her team, busy turning everyday items into weapons and defenses the aliens would never expect. Let them come, she said. We'll show them that innovation isn't about having the most advanced technology. It's about having the creativity to use what you have in ways no one else imagined. As she spoke, Jack Harrison was already modifying his daughter's kaleidoscope design into a full-scale ship detection system. Lieutenant Morrison was teaching more pilots her unpredictable flight patterns. All around the lab, humans were doing what they did best, finding simple solutions to complex problems. The GSA thinks they know what's coming, Dr. Nelson said to her team. But they don't understand us at all, and that's our greatest advantage. Outside, the sun set behind the Rocky Mountains, casting long shadows over the hidden lab. Inside, humanity's greatest minds continued their work, turning simple ideas into powerful innovations. The real test was coming, and Earth would face it not with advanced alien technology, but with the uniquely human ability to see solutions where others saw only problems. Colonel Peter Bradley watched the radar screen as hundreds of GSA ships appeared around Earth. The alien fleet had finally arrived. just as Commander Carter had warned. But Earth was ready. All stations, implement Protocol Echo, Bradley ordered from the underground command center. Around the world, Earth's defenders put their unconventional plans into action. The GSA fleet moved with perfect precision, their massive ships forming an elegant attack pattern. Their first strike was meant to disable Earth's satellite network. Energy beams lanced out from their ships, hitting their targets perfectly. Nothing happened. "Sir, GSA communications show they're confused," reported Lieutenant Morrison, monitoring their reactions. "They don't understand why our satellites are still working." Bradley smiled. Dr. Nelson's team had replaced the real satellites with decoys weeks ago. The actual communication network now ran through old undersea cables and forgotten radio towers. The GSA was attacking shadows, while Earth's real infrastructure remained hidden in plain sight. "Launch the mosquitoes," Bradley ordered. Across Earth, thousands of tiny drones took flight. They weren't advanced. Each one was barely more sophisticated than a remote control toy. But they carried Dr. Nelson's special cargo, simple devices that interfered with GSA sensors. The alien ship's perfect formation began to waver. Their advanced targeting systems couldn't lock onto the small, erratically moving drones. The GSA commanders tried to adjust their strategy, but they faced a problem they'd never encountered. An enemy they couldn't predict. "They're splitting up their fleet," Morrison reported. "They're trying to target our major cities individually." "Perfect," Bradley said. "Just like we planned. Signal all defense zones to begin Operation Firefly." In cities around the world, streetlights suddenly went dark. Power plants seemed to shut down. To the GSA's sensors, Earth's civilization appeared to be going dark, their technology failing. But in reality, Earth's power grid had simply gone underground. Dr. Nelson's team had created a network of simple power transmission systems, hidden from the aliens' complex scanning technology. The darkness was an illusion, meant to draw the GSA ships closer. The alien vessels moved lower in the atmosphere, just as Bradley had predicted. They followed their standard protocol for dealing with primitive civilizations: show force, then offer help to rebuild. "Now," Bradley ordered. Thousands of modified weather balloons rose from the darkened cities. Each carried a cluster of simple metal strips. Chaff, an old military trick from World War I. But these strips were coated with materials from Dr. Nelson's lab, designed to stick to the GSA ship's hull plating. The alien vessels tried to avoid the primitive balloons, but their advanced shields weren't designed to stop something so simple. The chaff attached to their hulls, creating a network of interference that disrupted their quantum positioning systems. "GSA ships are losing formation integrity," Morrison reported, trying to hide her grin. "Their fancy flying patterns don't work if they can't coordinate with each other." That's when Bradley launched Phase 2. Earth's remaining satellites, the real ones hidden among the decoys, began broadcasting on frequencies the GSA considered too primitive to monitor. The signals bounced off the chaff coating the alien ships, creating a web of communication the aliens couldn't detect or decode. "Their fleet is scattered," Morrison said. "They're trying to regroup, but our signal web is confusing their navigation systems." Bradley watched as the GSA's perfect military formation dissolved into chaos. Some ships flew too high, others too low. Their attempts to coordinate failed as Earth's simple radio signals interfered with their quantum communications. "Sir," Morrison called out, "we're picking up new signals. The GSA is calling in reinforcements." "Good," Bradley replied. "The more ships they bring, the more they'll learn about human warfare." The reinforcements arrived quickly, massive battleships that dwarfed the first wave. But they faced the same problems. Their advanced technology couldn't handle Earth's primitive but effective tactics. Earth's defenders watched as the mighty GSA fleet struggled against weather balloons, toy drones, and radio signals. The aliens tried to adapt, but their responses were predictable, always following their standard protocols. "They're preparing for a major strike," Morrison warned. "All ships charging weapons." "Launch the kites," Bradley ordered. Across Earth, thousands of metallic kites took to the sky, carried by natural wind currents. Each one was basically a mirror with some simple electronics attached. But together, they created a reflecting field that scattered the GSA's energy weapons. The alien fleet's coordinated strike dissolved into harmless light shows as their weapons scattered in all directions. Their perfect strategy was defeated by children's toys modified with scrap electronics. "GSA command ship is broadcasting," Morrison reported. They're requesting a temporary ceasefire." Bradley nodded. The first real battle was ending, and humanity had held its ground. Not through advanced technology or overwhelming force, but through creativity and unconventional thinking. "Send word to all commands," he ordered. "Maintain defensive positions, but hold actions. And get Dr. Nelson up here. I want to know what other surprises she has ready." As the GSA fleet hung in disarray above Earth, Bradley thought about how this would change everything. The aliens had learned that technology alone didn't determine the outcome of a battle. Human ingenuity, the ability to think differently and adapt quickly, was a force they hadn't counted on. "Sir," Morrison said softly, "do you think they'll try again?" Bradley looked at the scattered alien fleet on his screens. "Of course they will. But next time, they'll be more cautious. They're learning that humans don't fight like anyone else in the galaxy." Outside the command center, the sun rose over a seemingly darkened Earth. But in hidden bunkers and underground labs, humanity's lights still burned bright, and minds like Dr. Nelson's were already working on new ways to protect their world using the simplest tools in unexpected ways. The GSA had brought their most advanced technology to crush a primitive world. Instead, they'd learned a lesson about human warfare. Sometimes the simplest solutions were the most effective, especially when used in ways no one else could imagine. High General Krethos slammed his fist on the command console of his flagship. Another attack had failed. The mighty warship, advanced enough to destroy entire fleets, couldn't even hit a simple human satellite. "Impossible," he roared, his crystalline skin flashing with anger. "How are they doing this?" Down on Earth, in Dr. Nelson's lab, the answer to his question was taking shape. Her team had made their biggest discovery yet, a way to use the GSA's own energy weapons as power sources for Earth's defenses. "Watch this," Jack Harrison said, pointing to a simple device made from old solar panels and modified car batteries. When they fired a captured GSA weapon at it, the device didn't just block the energy, it absorbed it. The aliens used pure energy forms, Dr. Nelson explained to Commander Carter, who had come to see the test. "But we found that slightly impure materials can catch and hold that energy, like a cup of water catching rain." Lieutenant Morrison rushed into the lab, her eyes bright with excitement. "The GSA is trying something new," she reported. "They're using their quantum communication network to coordinate all their ships at once." "Perfect," Dr. Nelson smiled. "That's exactly what we were hoping for." She turned to her team. "Start Operation Mirrorball." Across Earth, thousands of simple radio transmitters began broadcasting random signals. Each signal was too weak to matter alone, but together they created a pattern that mimicked the GSA's quantum network. Their perfectly coordinated fleet suddenly received thousands of conflicting orders. In orbit, High General Krethos watched in horror as his ship started moving in random directions. "Shut down the network," he ordered, but it was too late. The humans had turned his greatest advantage into a weakness. "Sir," his aide reported, "the humans are launching something new." Rising from Earth's surface were ordinary weather balloons, but each carried a piece of Dr. Nelson's energy-absorbing technology. As the GSA ships fired on them, the balloons didn't pop. They grew stronger. "They're using our own weapons to power their defenses," Krethos realized, his anger turning to disbelief. How can they be so primitive yet so innovative? In the lab, Dr. Nelson's team watched the GSA's confusion with satisfaction. But they weren't done yet. Jack Harrison had developed something even more surprising. a way to redirect the absorbed energy back at the alien ships. It's like a mirror, he explained, showing how simple reflective surfaces, arranged in specific patterns, could bounce the GSA's weapons back at them. They never considered that their advanced energy weapons could be defeated by something as simple as reflection. The GSA fleet learned this lesson the hard way. When they fired their next barrage, Earth's new defense network caught their energy weapons and sent them right back. Their own perfect accuracy worked against them. The reflected shots hit exactly where they came from. High General Krethos watched as ship after ship had to power down to avoid being hit by their own weapons. "These humans," he muttered, "they don't fight like any species we've ever encountered." Lieutenant Morrison, monitoring the alien communications, smiled as she translated his words for the team. "They're finally starting to understand," she said. "We don't need fancy technology to win. We just need to think differently." But the GSA had one more trick to try. They activated their most advanced weapon, a device that could disrupt the very fabric of space around Earth. They expected this would finally show the humans their true power. Instead, Dr. Nelson's team was ready. They had discovered that the space disruption device worked by creating perfect patterns in reality. The solution? Create imperfect patterns that would cancel it out. "Launch the chaos generators," Dr. Nelson ordered. All around the world, humans turned on millions of different devices. Old radios, microwave ovens, car engines, even children's electronic toys. Each one created slightly different energy patterns. The GSA's perfect space disruption weapon met this wall of chaotic energy and simply stopped working. It couldn't handle the countless small variations in the patterns humans created. "I don't understand," High General Krethos said to his council. "Their technology is primitive. Their weapons are simple. Their defenses are basic. Yet they defeat our most advanced systems again and again." In the lab, Commander Carter watched the alien fleet's confusion with satisfaction. "They still don't get it, do they?" he asked Dr. Nelson. She shook her head, smiling. "They think advancement only means making things more complex. They'd forgotten that sometimes the simplest solution is the best one." Jack Harrison was already working on their next innovation, a way to use the GSA's own scanning technology to power Earth's communication network. "They keep expecting us to build bigger, more advanced weapons," he said. "They don't understand that we're not trying to match their technology. We're finding ways around it." Lieutenant Morrison's monitors showed the GSA fleet regrouping again. "They're calling an emergency council meeting," she reported. "I think we finally made them realize they need to rethink their approach." Dr. Nelson looked at her team, all busy finding new ways to use simple tools to defeat advanced alien technology. "Good," she said, "because we're not done showing them what humanity can do." As the sun set over the lab, the GSA fleet hung in orbit, their perfect formations now broken, their advanced weapons rendered useless by human ingenuity. High General Krethos stared down at the planet that had humbled his mighty fleet. "How?" he wondered. "How can they do so much with so little?" The answer was something the GSA was only beginning to understand. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology, but their ability to think differently, to find unexpected solutions, and to turn their very limitations into advantages. And in Dr. Nelson's lab, on screens showing the confused alien fleet, humans could see the truth. Sometimes the most advanced civilization isn't the one with the most complex technology, but the one that knows how to use simple tools in extraordinary ways. The moment that changed everything came on a quiet Tuesday morning. Dr. Nelson stood in her lab, looking at what seemed like a collection of junk, old computers, radio parts, and pieces of broken GSA technology. But she knew she had just discovered something that would change the galaxy forever. "Call Commander Carter," she told Lieutenant Morrison. "He needs to see this right away." Within an hour, the command team gathered in the lab. Jack Harrison had set up a demonstration using a captured piece of GSA technology, their most advanced computer core. "Watch this," Dr. Nelson said. She turned on a simple device made from modified smartphone parts. The alien computer core suddenly lit up, but instead of running its normal programs, it began operating in a completely new way. We found out that all GSA technology is based on perfect patterns, she explained. Their computers can only think in straight lines. So we created a system that thinks in curves. Commander Carter watched as the alien computer tried to adapt to the curved patterns. It couldn't. The perfect logic of GSA technology simply couldn't handle human unpredictability. Can we use this against their whole fleet? He asked. Dr. Nelson smiled. We already are. High above Earth, High General Krethos noticed the first signs that something was wrong. His ship's computers started showing strange readings. Their perfect formations began to drift. What's happening? He demanded. The humans, his aide reported, they're broadcasting some kind of signal. It's changing how our systems think. On Earth, Colonel Bradley watched from the command center as the GSA fleet's perfect order dissolved into confusion. Dr. Nelson's discovery was working better than anyone had expected. They built their entire civilization on the idea that technology should be perfect. Dr. Nelson explained to the Earth Defense Council. But we humans know that imperfection, adaptation, and creativity are what drive real progress. The GSA ships tried to fight back, but their weapons wouldn't fire. Their advanced targeting systems couldn't handle the curved thinking patterns that Earth was broadcasting. Their perfect technology had become their greatest weakness. Lieutenant Morrison monitored the alien communications. They're calling an emergency meeting of the full GSA Council, she reported. Every member species is being summoned to Earth. Commander Carter nodded. Then it's time for Phase 2. Dr. Nelson's team had prepared for this moment. While the GSA fleet struggled with their malfunctioning systems, Earth launched thousands of small satellites. Each one carried a simple message, broadcast in ways that even the most primitive alien species could understand. We don't want to fight, the message said. We want to share what we've learned. The GSA Council arrived in massive ships that dwarfed even their military fleet. They expected to find Earth ready to surrender. Instead, they found something that shocked them even more: humans eager to teach. In a grand meeting room on the orbital station, Dr. Nelson stood before representatives of 100 alien species. She showed them how human creativity could improve their technology, not by making it more complex, but by making it more adaptable. Your civilizations advanced by making technology more perfect, she explained. We advanced by learning to use simple tools in creative ways. Together, we could do so much more. Jack Harrison demonstrated how Earth's simple modifications could make GSA ships more efficient. Lieutenant Morrison showed how human unpredictability could improve alien defense systems. Even Colonel Bradley shared how Earth's guerrilla tactics could help protect peaceful species from attackers. High General Krethos, watching from his flagship, finally understood. All this time, he said to his aide, we thought they were primitive because their technology was simple. We never realized their true advancement was in how they think. The GSA Council debated for 3 days. Some members wanted to continue fighting, to prove their advanced technology was superior. But most saw the truth. Humanity had something valuable to teach them. On the 4th day, they'd made their decision. Earth would join the Galactic Space Authority, not as a primitive species to be controlled, but as equals with unique insights to share. Your innovation is unlike anything we've seen, the council leader told Commander Carter. We need your creativity as much as you could use our technology. Dr. Nelson's lab became the first human innovation center, where aliens and humans worked together to combine advanced technology with creative thinking. Jack Harrison taught alien engineers how to think outside their perfect patterns. Lieutenant Morrison helped them understand how unpredictability could be a strength. 1 month later, Commander Carter stood with Dr. Nelson, watching alien students learn from human teachers. The GSA ships still orbited Earth, but now they came to learn, not to fight. Did you ever think it would end like this? He asked. Dr. Nelson picked up an old smartphone they had used to confuse alien computers. "I always knew we had something special to offer," she said. "Humans don't just adapt to new situations. We thrive on them. That's what makes us unique." The story spread across the galaxy, how a primitive species had defeated the most advanced military fleet ever assembled, not through superior technology, but through creative thinking and simple solutions. "What happens now?" Lieutenant Morrison asked during a celebration dinner. Colonel Bradley smiled as he watched humans and aliens working together in the lab. "Now we show them what humanity can really do. We've proved we can fight with simple tools. Let's show them what we can build together." In the years that followed, the galaxy changed. The GSA stopped judging species by their technology level and started looking for unique ways of thinking. Earth became famous not for advanced weapons or powerful ships, but for teaching others how to innovate, how to think differently, and how to find simple solutions to complex problems. And in Dr. Nelson's lab, now filled with both human and alien scientists, the old collection of Earth technology remained on display. A reminder that true advancement comes not from having the most powerful tools, but from having the creativity to use simple tools in extraordinary ways. The human war innovation that had been beyond understanding had become something even more important. A bridge between species, a new way of thinking, and proof that sometimes the simplest solutions are the most powerful of all.